never left that porch step, even when the winters bit. That old mutt with silver eyes knew secrets I'd never admit. He saw me leave at 17 with anger in my blood, and when I crawled back broken, bruised, he didn't say a word. Mama said he knows your soul, but I don't think I believed, till he stared through my shaking hands and somehow made me breathe.
He watched my heartbreaks one by one, heard me curse God, the moon, the sun. He saw my brother leave for war and never walk back through that door. He nudged me when I drank too hard and laid beside me when I cried. A therapist made out of fur, with judgment he never supplied.
Neighbor said he was just a dog, but damn if he didn't see more truth in me than any friend or preacher ever preached to me. He waited by the porch through thunder, fire, and shame. No leash could hold his heart, but still he never strayed. He didn't speak in words, but his silence meant far more. That old dog never ran, even when I slammed the door.
The night I almost ended it, he pulled the gun from off my lap, then rested his head on my knee like he'd been waiting for that trap. He didn't howl, didn't bark, just stayed until the morning light, and somehow in that quiet wait, he pulled me back from the night.
He forgave without request, love without a script, taught me how to sit in grief and let the pain just drip. He never needed reasons, never cared for who I'd been, just stayed through every broken phase and taught me how to mend.
He waited by the porch, even when his legs gave out. I carried him one last time and whispered, "You figured me out."
They buried him near the oak, where the sun and wind still kiss, and every time I pass that place, I feel the peace I miss.
Saw me kiss her when I shouldn't. He saw the flask I hid real deep. He watched me dig a ring from trash and sob myself to sleep. He saw Dad hit the wall with rage and Mama hold her breath. He saw things no soul should see and carried them in death. He never told a single soul what lived behind these walls. He'd just curl up beside the truth and catch each teardrop's fall.
He knew when I had lied to church and when I stole from Uncle Ray. He heard me scream inside the barn and watched me throw my faith away. He saw the night I broke my hand, punching out my own reflection, that sat beside me till the sun whispered my first confession. He never barked when cops rolled in,
But he didn't flinch, didn't move, just leaned his head on mine, like he was saying, still with you, without a single sign.
The day he passed, the vet came late. He looked at me, then closed his eyes. And in that breathless, quiet fall, I saw my soul and heard my lies.
He never once betrayed me, though I betrayed myself. He died with every truth he held, still locked beneath the shell. What the dog never told was the life I tried to hide. He saw the darkness deep in me and never once stepped aside. He didn't need a sermon, didn't need to break my mask. He just stayed, and in that staying, he did what no one else could He saw me kiss her when I shouldn't. He saw the flask I hid real deep. He watched me dig a ring from trash and sob myself to sleep. He saw Dad hit the wall with rage and Mama hold her breath. He saw things no soul should see and carried them in death. He never told a single soul what lived behind these walls. He'd just curl up beside the truth and catch each teardrop's fall. He knew when I had lied at church and when I stole from Uncle Ray. He heard me scream inside the barn and watched me throw my faith away. He saw the night I broke my hand, punching out my own reflection, then sat beside me till the sun whispered my first confession. He never barked when cops rolled in, just waited near the gate, like he knew the time would pass and I'd survive my fate. What the dog never told was the story of my shame. He could have howled my secrets loud, but never spoke my name. He held 1,000 buried things, like bones of who I was, and still licked my trembling fingers like forgiveness, just because. He limped behind me through the years, never needing praise or fame. And when I lost the only job, he watched me curse my name. But he didn't flinch, didn't move, just leaned his head on mine, like he was saying, still with you, without a single sign. The day he passed, the vet came late. He looked at me, then closed his eyes, and in that breathless, quiet fall, I saw my soul and heard my lies. He never once betrayed me, though I betrayed myself. He died with every truth he held, still locked beneath the shelf. What the dog never told was the life I tried to hide. He saw the darkness deep in me and never once stepped aside. He didn't need a sermon, didn't need to break my mask. He just stayed, and in that staying, he did what no one else could ask.
Toward that town where sin wears a smoky crown. I was drunk on anger, high on pride, but he lagged back, wouldn't ride. Tried to coax him, tossed a bone. He just whined, then sat alone. I cursed, I yelled, I called in vain, but he refused to board that train.
I left him there in rear view blur, thinking I knew what life was for. But every mile I felt that weight, like guilt that couldn't wait.
Got jumped, got broke, lost my ring, traded my name for nothing. And when I limped back 6 weeks late, he was there still at the gate. The day he stopped following me was the day I started to see some roads are too dark for loyal feet. Some lessons only silence can teach. He didn't leave, didn't stray. He just said no in his own way, and I thank him now for the stand that saved this foolish, shaken man.
Wasn't scared, just sure and wise. Saw past the whiskey in wild disguise, while I chased chaos like a flame. He stayed true to his own name. He had no sermons, no command, just stillness I couldn't understand. But now I know that day was grace, the only no that saved my face. He never needed me to lead, just wanted me not to bleed. And when he stopped that one dark day, it was his barkless, loyal way.
He stopped following me. He showed what real love ought to be. Not blind, not chained, but bold and clear. A love that says, I'll wait right here. And when I turned and saw him stay, it broke me in the best of ways. I never doubted him again. My silent compass, my oldest friend.
Mama passed in the quiet dawn, while hymns on vinyl played her song. The house went cold, the world went mute, and I stood frozen in my boots. No tear, no wail, no falling down, just blankness in that silent town. But he, that mutt, he howled so low, like he carried what I wouldn't show. He pawed the spot where his shoes lay still, then sat and stared out toward the hill. And when no mourner dared to speak, he moaned a cry so torn, so weak, it echoed through the pine wood floor, like grief itself had found a door. I dropped the urn, I hit my knees and whispered, please, just take this, please. He cried when I couldn't. He howled what I suppressed. He mourned her like a prophet who knew she was the best. While I stood still, hollow-faced, he bore the pain I wouldn't chase. And somehow in that mournful tune, he gave me room beneath the moon. He slept beside her rocker chair, wouldn't move, just lingered there. And every time I tried to speak, he'd rest his chin against my cheek. Till one day I let it go, and we cried together, soft and slow. No preacher led that healing prayer, just man and dog in open air. They say some creatures feel your soul, know when the silence takes its toll. And he, my God, he felt it deep, and held my grief while I found sleep. He cried when I couldn't, and never asked me why, just held my storm inside his eyes, and met me sigh for sigh. He showed that loss don't need a word, just space to hurt, just space to hurt. So if you ever doubt love's face, look for the dog who guards your grace.
I was sitting on the porch, whiskey warm, sky turning black, and just for a breath I smelled smoke from a man who never came back. My daddy's ghost in anger wrapped passed through that broken gate, and my hands began to tremble at the memory I hate. But before the night could take me, or the silence rot my chest, that old dog rose and faced the wind and growled like he knew the rest. Dad never said he loved me, not once, not even near. Just fists and walls and gospels, preached harder with each beer. But that dog saw the bruises, he sniffed out the shame. And when the ghost of Daddy came, he wouldn't play that game. His hackles raised, he took a step between me and the wind, and in that growl I heard the words my father never did. He growled at my father's ghost like he knew that haunted tone. He stood between the curse and me and barked until it was gone. Some things don't need translation, some spirits need no name. But my dog knew the poison well and wouldn't play that game. No pastor ever saved me, no blood ever washed it clean. But that mutt gave me more peace than the Lord or nicotine. He never asked forgiveness, he just watched and stayed and knew. When the air grew thick with memory, he'd do what I couldn't do. The ghosts come back in silence, in smells and creaks in air, but that dog would sit and stare them down till nothing lingered there. He growled at my father's ghost till the past went quiet again. No words, no cross, no crucifix, just a loyal, growling friend. He knew the wars inside my blood, the ones no one else could see. And when my daddy's ghost came home, he stood between him and me.
I told my girl I loved her while looking toward the door. I said I'd stay for Christmas, but my bags were on the floor. I told the town I'd made it big while bills were stacking high. And through it all, that old dog stared with truth behind his eyes. He'd cock his head when I'd pretend to care to try to mend. He never judged, but still he knew exactly where I'd been. He saw the girl I ghosted, he watched me toss her notes. And when I laughed with empty pride, he never wagged, just rolled. And his look was like a Bible, no words but sharp and deep. It read me like confession and haunted all my sleep. The dog knew I was lying long before I'd say. He'd huff and turn his back on me, then lay a foot away. Like he couldn't bear my mask, but loved me all the same. He carried truths I buried with shame I couldn't name. The night I cried and spilled it all, he rested on my chest. And for the first time in my life, I knew what peace meant best. He didn't need apologies or long dramatic pleas, just truth between us, sitting still in silence in the trees. Sometimes you lie so often, you forget what real feels like. But he never let me drown in it, he stayed until I'd fight. The dog knew I was lying, but waited out my pride. And when I told the whole of it, he never left my side. That's love without performance, that's grace without disguise. He knew the worst of who I was and stayed until I cried. I cleared the barn, laid planks of pine, measuring twice, shaving the line with shaky hands. I built it strong, whispered prayers as I sang along. And through the window of that space, he watched me like a ghost with grace. Head on paws, eyes soft and wide, as if he felt the shift inside.
I was never taught to nurture, never held a doll or a plan, but he'd seen me fail and falter, and still laid by the man. Each nail I drove, he stayed nearby, and when I cracked, he didn't cry, just leaned against the sawdust floor. Like this time, boy, you build for more.
He watched me build her cradle, not with bark or tail, but with presence calm and knowing. Like he knew I couldn't fail. He didn't fetch, he didn't ask, just watched with holy eyes. And somehow in that silent gaze, he saw the man I'd tried. When I rocked her in that handmade bed, he circled once, then laid his head by her side like some old sage who'd waited years to guard that page. And when she cried, he didn't bark, just nudged my hand to calm my heart. And I realized in that tiny light, I'd found my first true right.
He never needed to approve, but somehow gave me more than any man or God above. With just his love and floor,
He watched me build her cradle, like he knew the stakes were high. And when she grabbed his ear one day, he didn't even sigh. He taught me love's not spoken, it's lived in daily grace. And I thank him for each board and nail, and every look on his face. I found myself beneath a steeple, no choir, no flock, no people, just me and years of rusted sin. trying to let the light back in. My hands were dirt, my voice was cracked. I whispered things I never tracked. But through the door he wandered slow and laid beside me, soft and low.
No preacher showed, no angel spoke, just candle wax and wood and smoke. But that old dog, like heaven's hush, rested quiet in that pew's crushed dust. And when I said, God, forgive my pride, he nudged my knee and closed his eyes as if he felt the weight released and knew I'd finally made my peace. He waited while I prayed, didn't bark, didn't move, didn't fade, like he knew this wasn't for show, like he felt my soul finally grow. He saw me at my worst, my raw, and waited still without a law. That dog had more holy grace than half the saints I faced. To be redeemed, just needed silence, not a scheme. And he gave me that beneath the bell, where I laid my guilt and nearly fell. He stayed through every broken word till silence was the only hurt. Then licked my hand with such belief, it cracked the chains of years of grief. They say man's best friend is the dog, but mine was the angel in my fog. And that chapel never felt so true as with his eyes fixed steady blue. He waited while I prayed, like he knew the price I'd paid. Choir's tune, just our shadows and the moon. And now I know what grace can be, a dog beside you silently, while God leans in and says, now you see. We laid her down beneath the pines, my sister lost before her time. And as we wept and walked away, he stayed behind like he would pray. He circled once, then laid his chest against the dirt that held her rest. I whistled low, I called and cried, but he just howled like part of him died.
And I crept in, cold and black, still he lay, would not come back. I brought a blanket, brought his bone, but he chose to grieve alone. And as I watched from far away, I knew he understood the day better than I ever could. He stayed because she once was good.
He never left the grave, not for rain, not for flame. He guarded more than soil and stone.
her soul from feeling alone. And though the world moved on, forgot that old dog grieved a lot, and taught me love won't always save, but it still kneels beside the grave. Weeks went by till one dusk fall, he limped home, slow but tall. His eyes were tired, filled with pain, but something in him had remained. He laid his head upon her scarf and sighed like life had gone too far. And though he'd left her resting bed, she never truly left his head.
He carried her in every nap, in every dream, in every gap, where silence used to be her laugh. He held her ghost inside his path.
He never left the grave till he knew she'd be brave. He mourned with fur and gentle cries till moonlight cleansed his old dog eyes. And now I know what mourning means, to sit in dirt to guard the seams of all the things you cannot save, but choose to love anyway.
The sun was warm, the fields were gold, but he that day looked tired and old. He followed me to the porch swing seat, then laid his head beneath my feet. His breathing slow, his heartbeat low, like even time had let him go. And I, too scared to speak or cry, just sat and watched the sky. No whimper came, no sudden fear, just silence wrapped in gentle tears. He looked at me, then closed his eyes, like he was done with earth's goodbyes. And in that breathless, final trust, I saw my youth return to dust. The boy I was, the man I'd grown, all sat beside that weathered bone. He closed his eyes first and took the weight away. All the years, the pain, the dirt, he chose to end the day. Not with drama, not with fight, but with peace and earned good night. And though my hands were trembling tight, he let me go and chose the light. I told him you were everything, more than pet or simple thing. You saved me when I couldn't speak. You made me whole when I was weak. And though I cried, I didn't scream. I let him drift
slipped into that dream where fields are endless, warm and wide, and no one ever has to hide. They say dogs never live long enough, but maybe they just live deep enough to leave a hole no time can mend, and teach you how to love again. He closed his eyes first and showed me how to go with grace, with truth, with peace, with dirt, with everything I still don't know. And now I walk this earth alone, but never feel like I'm unknown, 'cause somewhere in the morning mist, he walks beside me, still exists. There's dew on the steps and coffee in my hand, but the creak of the swing don't sound like it did back then. The porch was once a chapel, a haven for my sin, but now it's just a place where ghost and wind begin. His bowl still by the rocker, chewed and worn and dry, and I can't bring myself to say a last goodbye. I sit where he once settled, I wait like he's still mine, but the porch is empty now, and nothing feels quite right.
His shadow used to greet the moon before I even stepped outside. He'd rise with grace like ritual, then lay where trouble died. Now the planks just creak with memory, the silence is too loud, and every breeze feels colder without that breathing sound. The porch is empty now, but it echoes with his soul. Each nail and beam remembers how we made the broken whole. And though he's gone to heaven, or somewhere kind and wide, I still pour my coffee and leave the screen door open wide.
I used to tell him secrets that I'd never share with man. He'd listen like a preacher without a reprimand. Now when I mutter stories or try to pray out loud, there's no brown eyes to anchor me, just memory and cloud. Sometimes I think I hear him in the creek or in the floor, and I swear that swing still sways a bit like he just walked through the door.
The porch is empty now, but I still set down 2 cups, one for me, one for him, in case he still shows up.
And though the world keeps spinning, this corner won't forget that dog who sat in silence and gave me no regret. That dog who sat in silence and gave me no regret.
There's a nail by the doorway, bent and rusted through. It used to hold his leash. now it holds my truth. His collar still hangs there, leather worn and frayed. The tag still jingles softly like the past that wouldn't fade. I've touched it once a day since the day he passed. Each time I feel his presence, like time ain't really fast. It smells like mud in summer, like snow tracked on the floor, like every muddy footprint that he used to greet the door. His collar still hangs and it knows who I became. It held the dog that knew my lies and never judged my shame. It's not just decoration or some dusty piece of thread. It's a map of every moment he stayed when others fled.
I tried to take it down once to pack with other things, but the second I unhooked it, the house began to sting. So I nailed it right back crooked where it always used to be, a quiet little testament to the dog who carried me.
They say grief fades like sunlight, but that collar shines like flame. It burns with sacred silence and whispers out his name.
His collar still hangs and I'll never take it down. It's my hymn, my flag, my Bible in this simple, worn-out town. Some men wear medals, some mount swords and flags, but my shrine is leather faded with a tiny jingling tag. I've known preachers, fighters, liars, dreamers, sinners, and deniers, but none of them knew me whole like he did without control. From scraped up knees to broken hearts, to empty chairs and fresh restarts, he watched it all without a word, and yet I swear his soul still hurt. Never told me what was right, just stared through every lonesome night, and somehow I would understand without a Bible in my hand. He saw the drink, he saw the gun, he watched me leave, then watched me run. But when I came back crawling slow, he'd wag like told you so. The prayers I never heard, he knew when silence meant regret, and when I just couldn't forget, he held my life like sacred string. That old dog knew everything. He didn't live forever, but he stayed long enough to teach me grace and patience, love that don't act tough. I never learned from fathers or sermons loud and proud, but that old mud gave me more than most folks ever vowed. Now I carry him in choices, in how I raise my son, in every time I listen, instead of trying to run. Joy, my shame, without one whisper of blame. as